I really want to talk to you about some of the techniques that you guys offer here, because it really does set it apart from so many other treatment facilities out there. And for those who are watching and listening right now, it's really important that you understand this, that no treatment center, they're not all treated equally. They're not all created equally. And that some are just hands down a hell of a lot better than other ones, right? So let's talk about EMDR light therapy. What are some of the positives that can come from EMDR light therapy that is different than talk therapy?
So EMDR, and we just really call it EMDR, is short for bilateral stimulation, right? It was initially eye movement desensitization reprocessing. But as it has progressed, I mean, it's been around now for many, many years, they've realized that any type of bilateral stimulation, whether it's holding buzzers, the light bar, tapping on the hands, whatever that is, that stimulates that lower brain stem. Because what happens when we have a traumatic event is it gets lodged in that lower brain. You know, when we're in fear and we're traumatized, our frontal lobe goes offline. And then when it comes back online, those memories are still there. So what EMDR does, while utilizing bilateral stimulation, we get into that memory and we instill new cognitions around that memory. Or like we instill a calm space. We bring in, you know, a safe person, whatever that might be. And it reprocesses that memory that's stuck in that reptilian part of the brain, back up into the rational part of the brain. And they're able to see that traumatic event differently. A lot of my residents, what they'll say is, yeah, I mean, it's not gone, but it feels farther away. I hear it all the time. It's really an amazing modality with a lot of efficacy.
I mean, it's not a lobotomy where you're just going to erase something.
No.
It's not, you tell people, you're like, no, listen, it's not going to delete it out of your memory, but we don't have to react to it the same way.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's about the reaction.
It is always about the reaction. How am I going to react to this? Am I going to be in a calm state, or am I going to, go to meth to escape, from that, moment? Or when that moment resurfaces, am I going to choose to numb it with alcohol?
Yeah. And that all goes back to that dysregulated nervous system. You know, the other modality that you and I have actually talked about a little bit prior to was somatic experiencing. That to me is a great adjunct to EMDR because you're not necessarily recounting all these traumatic memories. You're just getting in touch with the sensations in your body that create that reaction, right? People are so disconnected, their minds from their bodies, that learning new ways to get back and connected to your body and regulate your own nervous system. But first you have to have the awareness that you're even dysregulated. Most people walk around on autopilot all the time and don't realize, oh, I'm dysregulated. No, let me grab a beer, because that's going to regulate me. They're not even thinking about it, right? It's an automatic response because at that core part of our brain that is totally unconscious, the number one focus of that part of the brain is survival. And when the nervous system's dysregulated, we think we're going to die. I mean, that's the core of our belief. So we will find anything to regulate that nervous system.
How do you, it's somatic, right?
Somatic experiencing.
Somatic experiencing. How do you do that? So, is that through talk therapy?
No.
Or is
it's not talk therapy though necessarily, because talk therapy is really focusing on this frontal lobe up here.
Right.
Of course you are conversing, but and I'm not a somatic experiencing practitioner, but a really good somatic experiencing practitioner focuses on what you're doing, what movements you're making with your body, how you're breathing, how you're nodding. So if someone, let's say, is like tapping their foot over and over again, they would say, so tell me about that. What's going on with that right now? All that's doing is getting you out of this frontal lobe and into your body, because people don't even realize what they're doing. Again, we live 80% of our life on autopilot, right? So it's really bringing awareness back into the present moment and back into the body.
Wow, that's really, really fascinating. I want to talk to you also, which we talked about before, equine therapy. Mm-hmm. So people ask me all the time, like, how does sitting on a horse actually help you? Yeah. And there really is a purpose for it. Yeah. What is the purpose? What does a horse do? Or what does the horse see or feel or sense that really kind of breaks through to somebody who does suffer from trauma or who does suffer from addiction?
So I've been an equine therapist now for going on 6 years. And I actually grew up in a small town in Wilcox where I was rounding up cattle at 8 years of age. So back then, if you would have told me I was doing therapy with horses, I'd been like, yeah, whatever. All there for you. Saddle them and you take them on a ride. You round up cattle, right? No, when I came across this modality because of my, experience with horses, I was fascinated. Basically, what happens is, again, I'm going to go back to the brain because there's 3 parts of the brain, main parts. There's the frontal lobe, the limbic system, and then that amygdala, that survival mechanism in the brain. The biggest system in a horse's brain is the limbic system, the emotional control center. They don't have that frontal lobe. So when a horse doesn't respond to you in a certain way, it's not because they don't like the shirt you're wearing. They don't care, right? They're responding to your energy, to what you're bringing into that arena. Do they feel safe? Do they not feel safe? So when a horse responds a certain way, it's an opportunity for that person to check in with themselves. As well, horses are prey animals, right? So their very survival depends on living in the moment. People that have survived trauma usually live in 2 states. Either they're in the future with the what ifs, or they're in the past with all the shame, guilt, and regret. Horses just live in the moment. So being in their presence, I hear it over and over again. Gosh, Shara, after I just spent that hour with that horse, I feel so calm and peaceful because you were mindful. You were living in the moment. You were enjoying it. And so again, it's that combination of their mirroring our energy and that mindfulness piece that makes it really therapeutic.
So I can actually attest to this. So I maybe rode a horse at a birthday party at age 7, and then was down here at Sabino at the end of October, beginning of November, end of October, and I'm out there riding a horse for essentially the first time with you for like 15, 20 minutes. All I know is that when I got off that horse, I was much calmer. It really, like, that was just 15 minutes of an experience. So I definitely felt like even my anxiety just drop a lot. But even riding on the horse immediately felt safe enough to start talking about some really deep stuff to a total fairly stranger at that moment.
Right. Well, so, you kind of go back to what we were talking about with EMDR. When you're riding a horse, what better bilateral stimulation, right?
I mean, that horse is trotting, and you're going back and forth.
And then you're riding a horse with a trained therapist, you're kind of letting out all your secrets. You're in the moment in beautiful surroundings. Like, it's great therapy. And we actually do equine in 2 different ways here. We do groundwork, where we do activities on the ground with all the residents, kind of team building. We do individual work, and then we also do horseback riding. All 3 modalities offer 3 totally different experiences, which is really cool.